All right, let's settle into our places. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the lights just because we don't want to get too much, as they say, light pollution in here. So one of the things that are required of anybody who goes on a trip sponsored by the missions committee is that they have to come back and give a report on their work. So I'm here because of that. And so I there's sort of several hats that I wear. Obviously, Greg and Bonnie are missionaries of Second Parish, but I'm the chair of the board of Hearts of Hope. But I was also a person who visited them sort of on behalf of the missions committee. So I'm kind of talking about all of those things this morning, and the work that Hearts of Hope is doing, that Greg and Bonnie are doing. Greg's here, so any errors that I have, he can correct, or any gaps that are left, you can add, Greg. Is Bonnie coming, or is she gone? Okay, that's fine. She doesn't have to rush. So anyway, so one of the first things that I want to do is just give you a little bit of a timeline, a brief history, so to speak, of Hearts of Hope. And of course, this is brief, it's not detailed, all right? And again, if I'm wrong, Greg, you can correct anything. And please, give me grace with my typos. I don't catch them ever, okay? So if there is one, you don't have to point it out. If you want to come to me later, you can do that, but you don't have to point it out. But really, things started in 2013. That was when you had your first adoption, right? With the twins, as well as Elisa, and you finalized your first adoption in 2013. And after that, Greg and Bonnie, left Ukraine, but their hearts were sort of still with the orphans there that they had left. And so in 2018, they returned to sort of start Hearts of Hope. They landed in a hotel, right? And they can tell the story at some point in time. But I learned that while they were there, they met their first dog orphan that they ended up adopting, their beautiful German Shepherd Cossack. But in the parking lot of that hotel, and Greg brought him home. When did you end up purchasing your property after you landed?
It was November 2000.
Okay. So, and you landed what month?
The end of August.
In the end of August. So fairly quickly, right? You were able to get a home in Kilia. Hearts of Hope was founded, and then ministry, as we've heard of it, continued really from 2018 to 2022 until in February of 2022, the war broke out between Russia and Ukraine. And the Harrisons then flee to Romania, and they settle down in a little village called Moroyen. Okay? Yes?
Why were they in 2013 in Ukraine?
To finalize their adoption.
Okay, one to adopt, and that's where it went. Okay.
The adoption has to be finalized over there, yeah.
3 trips for every adoption.
Right. Of course, when they head back in 2018, they've also, Katya has become a member of their family as well. Okay, so the ministry that we know of as Hearts of Hope continues to 2022 until they have to flee to Romania, to Moroyen, which is a beautiful little village in Romania, and they've been there since then. okay, for, 4 years now. In 2025, we commissioned them as missionaries of Second Parish, and they're designated as affiliated missionaries with the OPC Committee on Foreign Missions. That's been good to give them more visibility in the denomination. And so that's been really, really wonderful. That's a brief history, right? But let me just, this is Romania, right? And of course, to the north of Romania right here is Ukraine, right? And then you have Moldova right here. This is Ukraine right here, so as well. So Ukraine goes up and over. To the south is Bulgaria, and you have Serbia and Hungary right here. Bucharest is the capital city, and the Carpathian Mountains run from about right here all the way, I think, into Poland. They go as far as all the way into Poland. I flew into Bucharest, which is the capital. And then right here in this outlined area is what's called the commune of Moroyen, which has about, I think, 6 villages as part of it. And Greg and Bonnie live in the village itself, Moroyen, the main village of that commune. So right there, notice, right at the foot of the Carpathian Mountains, and Romania is an absolutely beautiful country. Let me just show you a couple of the main religion in there is Eastern Orthodoxy, and Greg and I actually visited an Eastern Orthodox commune while we were there. Was it? Monastery, yes, sorry, monastery. We talked to the Eastern Orthodox priest there, really kind man, but a very beautiful building. But we sat down and had some snacks with him, and he gave us some, basically like a syrup that they don't distill it, but a syrup that they make from like the buds of fir trees. It was delicious, and he was kind. But right there in the middle of this is where Greg and Bonnie is. And you won't be able to tell this as well from the pictures, but it is a beautiful country. Yeah.
Can you go back to the map before you move on? Where relative to that is your original Ukrainian property?
I see Ismail, Tulcha, Balats, Brela is to the right of Brela is Ismail. We're about an hour from there.
So from where you are to way over there is an hour?
No, I think Don is asking, where were you in Ukraine? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's where we were in Ukraine.
Okay,
Yeah, no, that's about what 8 hours.
it's 8 hours.
So it's Galatz is where the border is, border crossing, down in the south there. Yeah.
So you have to cross through Moldova?
No.
This is actually Ukraine right here.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we crossed the river there, Danube.
Right? And Moldova doesn't have any access to the Black Sea. We're right here. So right here is where Greg and Bonnie are. But Romania is a beautiful country. This is a field. Bonnie helped me take this picture. She's like, Danny, get close to the ground and take it from there. So I was coached on this picture. But this is a field of what's called rapeseed. Most of the canola oil, it's part of canola oil. It's also an additive to diesel fuel. But there are fields like this all over, at least the part of Romania that we were in. Greg and I took a drive just outside their village one day, and I just captured this. But it really is a beautiful, beautiful country. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the place where Hearts of Hope is in Moravian, the house there, and the ministry that's going on there. This house, by the way, is, a wonderful place with plenty of room for everybody for daily activities. It's a quiet location, which is really good for young people whose lives were anything but quiet for the greater part of their lives. This sort of location, with its quietness, its tranquility, is much to be preferred than a busy city location that is overwhelming to the senses. They have a great relationship with their landlord and the community. And Greg and Bonnie, by the way, are really great hosts. So we'll just leave it at that for now. But this really is a wonderful place for them to do ministry. Now, on sort of a day-to-day basis, ministry in Moravian is a regular study in the scriptures and the confession. I think Bonnie is taking the girls at least through one of Star Mead's devotionals on the Heidelberg Catechism right now. And Greg works with Saroja on a regular basis with Bible reading. And Saroja, I think, is learning Romanian right now as well. So when they get together, they'll read in English, they'll read in, I think, Ukrainian or Russian, and then practice Romanian as well. This is Oksana right here, and Anastasia right here. And at least Saroja and, is it Nastia, that like to work with pottery? Got it. Oops, sorry. Saroja's helping most. But they do work regularly on hands-on skill building for hoping to do some cottage industry work with things like pottery. Then on a day-to-day basis, they have a lot of menagerie, not a menagerie of animals, but they have cats and dogs, which are really wonderful companions, calming companions for those in the house. There's meal prep that happens every day. I think one young adult takes about a meal every week or something like that and fixes it for dinner, fixes it for everyone. And it really, this ministry right now provides these young people, they're all in their 20s. I don't think we can call them kids anymore as far as their years are concerned. But it really provides a loving, stable, Christ-centered home. They did not grow up in loving, sort of stable environments. So this is a massive relief to them. So this is the house in Moravian. Now, beyond that, I'm not working now. Hold on. I'm going to turn it on and turn it back off. Wouldn't it be crazy if I put all this together and it doesn't work? Do you want to just advance it, Betsy? Yes. So this is some of the pottery these, by the way, these necklaces right here, I think these are available where? They're available here in Gorham, right? At Parsons Farm Stand in Gorham, if you want to.
They're graciously not taking any cut from it, so
100% of the proceeds.
100% of all the money goes right to the kids.
Yeah.
So they sold quite a few this year, but
It's great.
this is quite good.
The girls make those, and then the bowls and the mugs. I got to drink out of one of the mugs the whole time I was there. It holds a lot of coffee, let me put it. More coffee than they look like they hold. Just some pictures. Saroja and Oksana on the left-hand side there, and then Greg and Bonnie. This is Nastya right here, Anastasia, Oksana, Saroja. And then, of course, Katya is there a good portion of the year. She's actually there right now, kind of as a house mom of sorts. Some more pictures. These are these stockings that Oksana knitted or crocheted?
They're classic red sock shape.
Okay.
For Christmas, yeah.
For Christmas. So she knitted those.
15 right there, which made in probably 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay. So she can pump them out pretty fast. This was us after a mean game of Uno, I think, while Skip-Bo, that's what it was. It was Skip-Bo. But it was wonderful. This is just a sampling of all the animals. Cats, dogs. I think you've limited yourself to cats and dogs. There's about 5 cats, 5 dogs. Okay. So we can pray for a donkey.
There are 2 donkeys next door that
You can hang out with. But I think Kasak right here was the original member of the family when they first. So he's 8 years old. So he's getting to be a little bit of an old man. Yeah. This is Sky's dream cat right here. A sweet, fluffy cat that actually is more like a dog. But as you can imagine, animals like this are really an important part of sort of therapeutic sense of what they do there. I want to talk a little bit, so that's sort of the day-to-day ministry that happens in Morayen. But Hearts of Hope has a continuing ministry to Ukrainian orphans living in Romania. Now, what you see here is a map that starts in Morayen, which is a little bit off the page. And the map runs to where Greg and Bonnie drive almost every weekend to a group home that is housing Ukrainian orphan refugees from the area in which Greg and Bonnie were. Right, so I don't know how, they're spread across how many homes? 3 homes, but this is the one that you guys have tried. So think about this, every weekend you drive on a Friday or a Thursday or something like that, mostly on a Friday, 2 hours, and you go and you pick up 1 or 2 of the orphans. Really, there are 5 orphans that are coming there sort of on a rotating basis. So 1 or 2 at a time, but 5 that they've really been able to engage with. But 2 hours there on a Friday, 2 hours back on that Friday, and then they spend the weekend with Greg and Maya. So they're hosting them like you might even would host them in the U.S., but for a shorter period of time. And then on Monday, 2 hours out there and 2 hours back. Now, if you want to know how that happens, this is, and I thought this was fascinating, this is their 2006 Toyota Land Cruiser that has a diesel engine. And that thing is unstoppable, except when we were coming back one night. And all of a sudden Greg realized he was pushing down the gas, but there was not much power at all. And so we were headed over some mountain peaks and stuff like that, and we thought we would make it, and we did. But the next day, Greg said, well, I'm just going to stop by at my mechanic. If I get there early on, he can probably look at it. And he did. What's his name again, Craig? Razvan. He is the nicest, sweetest, and he had other things to do that morning and even other cars that they were working. These are some of these are some of the orphans from Ukraine that have come to Romania that they are hosting. And this is this Demi right here? Dima right here. This is Stas, right? Actually, this is Stas too. So you have Stas the red and Stas the brown, or whatever you want. I don't know how, but Dima has expressed a desire to possibly join Hearts of Hope and the Harrisons more long term. So you're going to be hosting him for the entire summer, and that is a wonderful.
Stas, the red, has no living relatives that he knows of, and he's desperate to join us. He asks, he's kind of a little bit afraid of our dogs, but he's overcoming it, and he asks, he's very desperate to join our family. So.
He has quite a speech impediment, so it's difficult to understand him with the language barrier too, but he's a very dear child. He wants to be with us as often as he can be. He also loves to pray and read the scriptures and always asks to pray goes to bed to pray. It's really nice.
Yeah.
He's the one that gets us to pray more often.
All of these kiddos are Ukrainian. They were all from the orphanage in Kilya, and they relocated into Romania during because of the war. So as most of us slow down on the weekend, right, and kind of at least try to enjoy a weekend, the Harrisons are not slowing down on the weekend. They're driving to, ministering to kids for the weekend that they're hosting, and then driving them back on Monday.
What's he holding up there?
A cake.
Is that a
It was his birthday. It was his birthday.
I have a question that if he wants to join, is there any reason why he can't? Are you a limitation? He has to be 18. How old is he? He's 15.
So he has to be 18. Remember, the ministry of Hearts of Hope is for those who have aged out of the orphanage system. So this also gives Greg and Bonnie time to see if a child is a good fit in a home that they already have established. He is in the name. What's the name of the village again?
He's in a group home. It's still kind of like an orphanage. There are 27 children.
So Veleni de Muti is where all of these kids that they go to every week, they're there. They're spread out over a number of homes, but Greg and Bonnie have sort of targeted this one as the one that they're going to visit regularly. Again, some pictures, having some chamomile tea. And then this picture on the left, and the young lady on the left, on the picture on the left, is Angelina. Greg and Bonnie host her regularly. Is that Natasha to the right of her? And they're asking for prayer for Natasha, that she'll be 18 next month. They're hoping that she won't be sent back to Ukraine. It would not be a great situation for her if she is sent. But there is somebody in the U.S. who's willing to sort of support her staying in Romania. So that's a huge answer to prayer. But we want to pray that works out. And these are actually the picture of the kids in Veleni de Muti that Bonnie and Greg visit every weekend. Okay. So this is in addition to the daily work that they're doing in Moroyen, the daily work with the young people that are already in their homes. And then I want to talk a little bit about Hearts of Hope and the church. So on Sundays, The family either jumps in the car or they jump on a train, and they drive about two and a half hours from Morayen up to Brajov. And sorry, hour and a half, my bad, hour and a half to Brajov. And why do they travel so far to church is just because they're committed to worship that is Reformed and Presbyterian. That is what Greg and Bonnie are committed to. Church at this mission work, this is a mission work of MTW, but church starts at 4 p.m. because they're renting a building in Brajov. And this is, the name of this church right now is Brajov Ukrainian Fellowship. It was started by MTW missionaries, Bob and Andrea Burnham. They were previously in Odessa, from what I understand, but they were displaced because of the war and the Russian invasion as well. And the church really is about serving Ukrainian refugees that are living in Romania and in the Brajov area. So services are held in Ukrainian. And actually, while I was there, I got to hear a service in English because there's a Romanian missionary there from MTW that speaks Romanian, but he doesn't speak Ukrainian. So he was a visiting pastor. And so he spoke in English, and the pastor's daughter translated into Ukrainian. And she's in a local college. She's learning Romanian to go to school in Romania, but she loves languages. So she's learning Romanian as well.
She's actually in a program that is for Romanian speakers only.
Oh.
To study Chinese.
Yes, right.
So she's learning Romanian so she can enter this course.
She's learning Romanian so she can learn Chinese in Romanian. So she's pretty gifted. But this functions as what you might call a sort of diaspora church of, sort of Ukrainians that have been scattered because of the war. Pastor Misha is up there on the right-hand side with his wife, Olena. And he's kind of the church planting pastor here right now. So they drive all the way up to Brajov, hour and a half, and then back down. Now, one of the difficulties is during the summer, as you can imagine, any of us driving to church for an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back is a long day. The difficulty is that this trip right here, from Morayen to Brajov, during the summer, the trip back, because of people, if you went down to Bucharest down here, a lot of people from Bucharest travel up to the Brajov area on the weekends. And guess when they're going back home? On Sunday evening. So a 1.5 hour drive turns into at least a 2.5 hour drive back, and sometimes a 3 hour drive. So that makes it difficult. That's why even though the place in Morayen is a wonderful place, being connected to the church and not having to spend 8 hours, 5 hours traveling and so forth every Sunday makes it a difficult place for location reasons. Now, thankfully, this is the road that runs through a lot of villages. This is where, sort of in small towns, this is where the bottleneck kind of happens. They are building a bypass. I don't know which way it's going, but they're building a bypass. So that might relieve some of that on the weekends. It's particularly bad, as I understand it, during the summer. But this is the reason why we want to pray for finding a home for Hearts of Hope in Romania. And that's some of the work that we did while we were there. Is we visited a couple of properties to try and assess them as far as the viability is concerned. But if you want to pray specifically, here are the things that you can specifically pray for enough land to build tiny houses. They'd love to give some of these young people a sense of independence by having their own small space to take care of. They can also, if they have some tiny houses, rent some of those out and with an Airbnb and become a little bit more self-supporting. I think that's a goal of Hearts of Hope too, is maybe not be completely self-supporting, but at least have some supplemental income as well. And for a village that's safe, not all villages are safe. And for property within an hour and a half of church, closer if possible. Romania is like here. The closer you get to the city, the more expensive things get. The busier things get. And remember, you're working with young people and kids that they thrive more in a quiet, more subdued environment. So within an hour and a half of church, closer if possible. And then a place where Hearts of Hope could start a sort of cottage industry or a place with entrepreneurial possibilities. Greg and Bonnie are missionaries, but they're entrepreneurs as well. And they're always thinking, how can we expand our ministry? How can we bring more in so we can do more? And so there are opportunities for this around Romania. But if you're looking as far as land is concerned, for something to pray for specifically, this is what we would ask that you pray for. That's really all. That's very quick. I know we're kind of past time. That's an overview of what I observed while I was there. It was a wonderful time of fellowship, and do pray for Greg and Bonnie. It's exhausting work. It's hard work, especially the traveling on the weekends. So if you think about it, traveling 2 hours to go pick kids up, 2 hours back, and then in the same weekend, an hour and a half to church, and then sometimes 2 hours or 3 hours back, depending on the time of year. It's hard work. It's exhausting. So pray for their safety on the road. Pray for the ways in which they're ministering to the young adults in their home, the refugees that are in Romania, and just a place to sort of settle in Romania. So with that said, I'll take a couple of questions, but Greg and Bonnie could probably answer some questions as well. But this was my trip, right? And so I just thought I'd lay it out to you. Questions, comments, confusions? Yeah, Rowena.
Safe village.
I'll let them explain that. Go ahead.
We did an Airbnb thinking we'd be gone for a few weeks and then go back to Ukraine. But within a few weeks, the kids, Oksana, made some friends, the kids in town, and some of them were gypsies, And one day she comes home and she says, I've received death threats from this one kid. Well, Oksana's kind of like a feisty girl. And she's always into like drama and things like that. So we need, a place that where there aren't these sort of reactionary types that she has access to, basically. So another little story. There was a pastor counselor guy that lived also near a gypsy village, and they're not all the same. Some are very safe, some are not safe. But he had all of his windows stoned out of his house because he got on the wrong side of somebody, and the community decided they didn't want him there anymore, and so he had to flee for his life. And so we have to look for just the right village to settle in. And then we need money to be able to settle in that safe village.
Right.
And the village that we're in now has been very safe. We've had no problems whatsoever. I think we had a chainsaw that did get stolen one time because we left it out back. But other than that,
that are like that, yeah.
Yeah, and the Pentecostals have been very active in our village.
Right. And I think what should go without saying, but I'll say it, is any place where Hearts of Hope lands, they're doing it they want a safe village for their kids, but they want to have an impact on wherever they are in the communities that they are. So they want to make connections in those communities as well. Yeah, Shirley.
One girl who said was aging out, she was of the orphanage. Now you're maybe looking for people like this, children like this, young adults. What happens if there's nothing? Where do they go?
So in Ukraine, they age out at 16. In Romania, they age out at 18.
Okay.
Which is a little easier for them. But at 16, they go directly to the town, say, grade school. But it's still very much basically like an orphanage. It's these big old dormitories that are not kept up well. And so it's a bunch of 16, 17, 18-year-old kids just living, in these big dorm-like areas without much heat, just a very bad place. And they really do get trafficked. I'm just going to have to say it. It's pretty quick for the girls. They start to be groomed in the orphanage by the local.
Because these children are not, they're not disabled or anything like that.
Well,
Some of them
a
maybe,
lot of
but
the
that's
ones that we take in have some sort of disability.
That's because the orphanage that we minister to is a special needs orphanage, and they all have developmental delays and different disabilities.
I remember years ago in Greece, the ones that aged out were sent to Rhodes to the asylums. And they could be physically disabled, not any of them were mentally disabled. Is that what happens?
Yeah, we had, so our son was going to be sent to the nursing home, after she finished up with her trade school, which they really don't get any school in any sort. But she would be going on to the nursing home, so basically she would just have to live that type of life for the rest of her. And she, our daughter Katya, whom we adopted, 2017, was best friends with Oksana and was in communication with her. And she reached out to us and said, hey, this is what's going to happen to my best friend. Would you be, willing to take her in? And we did right away.
There's not a lot of safety net at all. Almost nothing. In fact, it's a danger net more than it is. A high percentage of boys ending up in prison, high percentage of girls ending up in prostitution or being trafficked. Okay, you might have more questions, but we have to go. If you have questions, I'm sure Greg and Bonnie will they'll be around for the next couple of weeks at some point in time, but you can also ask me, Linda, as well, as far as the work that's being done by Hearts of Hope, but this is just my presentation of my trip. So, all right, let me close us in prayer, and then we'll head out. God, thank you for the work that Hearts of Hope is doing in Romania and their ministry to Ukrainian refugees. Lord, we pray for this sort of next phase in the ministry, Lord, in which they're seeking to put down roots in Romania, Lord, and continue to minister to Ukrainians in Romania, Father. We pray that you would give them wisdom as they try to find the best place to settle in, Lord. That you would continue to provide for funds to purchase a place, Father. That those that they enter into contract with, Lord, would be those who are supportive of the ministry and work that they are doing. And bless the kids, Lord, the young people that they minister to. We thank you for Oksana and Nastia and Sharoza and Anastasia, Lord. And we pray that you would continue to draw them to yourself and show them your love. We thank you for Katya that's there, who's there right now, Father, and we are excited about her coming to see us for a little while here